I'm the Red Lady, and this is episode 5 in my Shamanic Witchcraft 101 series. I hope you're all well. So let's talk about keeping magical records, how to keep magical records, and why this is important. If you are a beginner in the magical arts, a beginner student of psychic development or experiencing a spiritual awakening, then I take my hat off to you. It's not always easy in the beginning, but keeping a record of your thoughts, insights, visions, dreams, and any magical work you perform, spells or rituals or meditations and journeying, is important. Keeping a record of these things will help you remember what you've done, when you did it, or when it happened, and what you learned as a result. And later on, or even years down the line, you can look back through these records and gauge how you have progressed, because you will progress. If the magical work you did, gained any results, were they the results you hoped for? Did something go wrong? What can you do to rectify that? So if that particular spell or work is even important to you anymore, it might not be. Have you grown out of it? So there are lots of different names for this kind of record keeping that stem from different traditions. Names such as Book of Shadows, Grimoire, Magical Diary, Magical Journal, and so on. To be perfectly honest, it doesn't matter one tiny bit what you call this record or how you refer to it. What matters is that you write it or type it even. Some people keep their magical records electronically, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Record keeping is a critical requirement for any magical practitioner or student of psychic development, but it is most important in the early days, in the beginning, when you are trying to find your feet with it all. Very quickly getting into the habit of writing things down or recording them in some way is crucial. In my own experiences, there have been times when I have come up against personal development blockages, and I have searched for answers, repeated the same mistakes, and possibly, lost the plot on a few occasions, only to find that what I was looking for, or the information that was required, had been written down by my own fair hand, in some of the earliest entries of my own diary. So during a spiritual awakening, or in the early days of your spiritual journey, this is when you're most likely to receive a lot of important information from spirit that you may not understand at the time. And so a written record allows you to preserve that information as it is freshly presented to you, that you can later reflect on or decode if necessary. A written record is also evidence of your spiritual awakening or your initiation, and will give a step-by-step account of your journey as well. So whether you allow others to read this account is entirely up to you. But in these early days, I would recommend you keep your records to yourself. Much later on, you will then be in a better position to decide whether your diaries are going to be of any benefit to others starting out on their path. So I would say for a beginner, to keep your magical journals to yourself. That's my advice. You don't have to listen to it, but there it is. So what is the point of being on this spiritual journey? Why do you have to write it all down? Why do you need to do all this work? The simple answer here is because it calls to you. You are drawn to it. You feel almost compelled to travel down this path. And this is because you are being led in this direction by your inner guidance. You have a purpose, and your purpose is to work and live on a higher spiritual frequency. So starting out on this magical, spiritual or personal development journey is the beginning of that ascent. and it does help a great deal to keep records of the important parts of this awakening and of this journey, over the years. Discovering your true purpose in life is a key part of this journey, and living that purpose is the ultimate goal. Back to the point. So it is important that you do not forget your spiritual experiences, and it is also important that you gain a certain therapeutic healing from your writing. Your journal can also help you work through any difficult past issues or trauma or conditioning, and this is essential to your personal development. This is sometimes known as shadow work, and I will be covering this in this series at some point in the near future because it is a super important topic. So please do subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hit the bell for notifications of when I upload that video. So when looking back through your spiritual journey or magical diary, you will come to a more thorough understanding of yourself, how your mind works, why you think the way you do, how this is all changing. And in the beginning, when I was called to the shamanic path, I didn't know anything about witchcraft, spirituality, and I certainly didn't know anything about shamanism. Yet I felt compelled to write things down, to make a record of what was happening to me at the time. I didn't understand why I needed to write things down. It was only later that I realised the importance of this, and so I'm glad I listened to that guidance from the spirits that introduced themselves to me during those early days. So what I ended up with after the first year or two was a mass of jumbled up papers of various sizes, shapes, colours, notebooks, that contained everything from dream records to scrying notes to meditation notes to visualization exercises, even some complete and fairly lengthy channelings and conversations with spirits and discarnate entities, to drawings and visions and symbols, and a whole roller coaster of tear-stained, emotional shadow work diary entries. Some of them were properly dated and some of them weren't dated at all. Some later entries are more detailed and include dates, times, what phase the moon was in, what astrological sign the moon was in, and the sun. And these papers and journals were scattered or kept in various places in my house. Nothing much has changed there for me, to be perfectly honest, although my journals from the first 15 years or so are all kept in one place now, and some of the more recent ones are still in use and get moved from place to place. So this leads to the question, should I be keeping one journal and putting everything in there, or do I keep separate journals for different purposes? This can be helpful to keep certain aspects of your spiritual journey or your magical practice separate. You could keep a dream journal next to your bed to record dreams if that's something you feel you need to do. You could also have a practical grimoire that records magical processes or spell work you do, or recipes for magical powders and oil blends, that sort of thing. So, if you're into writing your own spells and rituals, you could also have a shadow work journal that is kept only for your shadow work. You could have a psychic development diary where you record what happened during your psychic development sessions, and likewise for guided meditations and journeys. A blank sketch pad is also really useful for drawing things. Sometimes the only way that you can record the things that you see is to draw them rather than write down every detail. Some people find that easier. You're splitting these records into different sections or topics like this can be so much easier for some people. You could even make your own personal video diary, or you may prefer to just lump everything into one journal. You know, it's entirely up to you. You can create your own combination or method of recording your magical work and your spiritual journey. You know, either way, you must keep records, and be sure to always date them. How you write your experiences down and how much detail you include is up to you. But obviously, the more detail, the easier it will be to reflect on them later. So some people like to have really fancy leather-bound, high-quality paper, and, you know, include artwork and nice calligraphy and magical alphabetical coding. You know, you can if you want to, you know, for aesthetic value, but it isn't really necessary. What's most important is the information you record inside it, and that information should be written to yourself and for yourself. These journals are personal, and you don't need to write as if you're writing for an audience. You know, no one's going to be grading you on it. It doesn't matter if you spell things wrong or splash tea over it, you know, as long as it's readable and understandable to you. On that note, I will show you this pile of stuff. These are my journals from over the years, so I keep them in a large box now, because if they are randomly sitting on a shelf somewhere, then they can easily be picked up and read by someone. Not that random people come into my house or anything, but you know, these journals are nobody else's business but my own, unless I choose to reveal what's inside them to someone else. And it has occurred to me that a lot of the information in these journals may be of benefit and value to someone starting out on the shamanic witchcraft path. So I might possibly delve into some of these journals at some point in this series as I talk about various related topics. So I hope you got something useful out of this video. Please do check out my other playlists, because I have plenty of other series that I'm working my way through, as well as this Shamanic Witchcraft 101 series. So please do like, share and subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications of when I upload my new videos. And I will see you soon.